Time to take your compendium mobile. Arrives via text at booking, no app to download. Promotes more pre-arrival and on-property amenity bookings. Guests easily engage information and services via QR codes, reducing staffing and service cycles, and increasing revenue. Support guests off-property with our Explore Local tab. All guest activity tracked for a better understanding of their interests. NexGenGuest, creating a better guest experience, operational efficiencies, and revenue. Reach out to us for a 15-minute demo.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I want to start by introducing the panel. We have Jamie Kerr, Senior Global Brand Marketing for Ritz-Carlton. We have Jennifer Barnwell, President, Curator Hotel and Resort Collection, and Bridget Tran, Chief Marketing Officer of Club Quarters Hotels. And I just want to extend a quick offer to everyone that is watching, a 60-day free trial of our platform, which requires no integration. Okay, let's get right into it. First question is behavioral marketing. How can hotels improve? Bridget, why don't you start?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think everything we do in marketing should be emulating the behavior of our consumer, right? So if we're not applying behavioral targeting or retargeting or looking at the data, then we're definitely missing out on a lot of opportunities, whether it's personalization or revenue or experience. So how do you apply it? Well, at Club Quarters, we definitely use a lot of AI and machine learning to have a better understanding of how our guest behaves. And we use that data and we share it not only among ourselves in the marketing team and the digital team, but we also share it with the revenue team. We share it with the hotel team. We even share it with the CEOs, COOs as well, because what we try to do is do a lot of storytelling, taking the data that marketing has, whether it's on the website or understanding behavior at the hotel level, and we put it through business analytics. And the business analytics tools typically will give us stories that are relevant to the different stakeholders. So revenue management can actually capitalize on the data we collect regarding behavior, and they can help them with pricing. They help them with projection and forecasts of types of rooms and pricing trends and so forth. And we do that as well on the marketing side and operations as well.
Okay, lots to take into consideration there.
Yeah.
So Jamie, why don't you take a stab at this?
So I sort of echo, what Bridget said. It's certainly sort of table stakes and marrying storytelling with data and really trying to reach our audience, particularly next gen, with that type of learning. I think maybe thinking about it a little bit differently as well. When we think about content, right? We know that from a luxury audience perspective, they want authenticity, and that this is really important to this younger next gen audience, right? They want content that is true to the brand, that's not pandering, that's not gimmicky, right? So I think we kind of approach it more from a mindset perspective, but we do really try to hone in on some of these drivers for next gen. For instance, we know that they're very driven by brands, by luxury brands, right? And brands in our space too, right? Thinking about hotels that have a great culture. How do you pull that story through? And that's where we often spotlight in a way that is really authentic to the Ritz-Carlton, our ladies and gentlemen, and their craftsmanship and their artistry. But I think this next gen too, like a big opportunity is really about, are we making a positive impact in the community? Are we telling those stories in a way that's authentic? It's, again, to be really mindful and curated on the appropriate spaces to tell those stories. So we're constantly thinking about content that sort of resonates with all of our guests, but particularly next gen. And a lot of conversation we have is around, of course, TikTok. I think, Steve, you might even directly ask that question. But we as a brand are not on TikTok, but it's important to us to let this younger audience who are content creators in their own right. In fact, I think they're going to change that kind of entire landscape of what an influencer is, what a content creator is, but to interpret not only our brand, but to interpret the hotel stays, the destination, and really let them lead the way there. I think that's important. To let them have a voice in this perspective more than, even millennials, if you will.
TikTok. Yeah. I mean, I had a friend of mine here the other day. He was just obsessing about TikTok, and he wasn't 20 years old. He was more.
Yeah.
Okay. Jen, behavioral marketing, how can hotels improve?
Yeah, I think, I love what Bridget and Jamie said from a, bigger brand perspective, from the independent perspective, it's certainly in terms of the landscape, kind of definitely more fragmented in terms of, there's a lot of independent hotels out there that are kind of one-off, maybe single owner operator, or managed by, smaller groups. And I think there is a lot of opportunity to improve in this space, for us in the independent lifestyle world. And specifically, it does go back to fundamentals to then build off. So we need to understand as much as we can about our guests, our potential guests, those, meaning those that are shopping. What are they looking at? When are they ultimately making their decisions? When they're in-house with us, what are they doing? What are their behaviors? And aside from, tracking all of this online, I do still think there's a huge opportunity to extract that data when they're in-house with you. So, we tend to talk a lot about what's the interaction at the front desk, because depending on how they booked, especially in the independent space, which tends to be, a much higher percentage of third party than Bridget and Jamie probably experience, which is, a given. Really dig in to get the information about why they chose you, maybe, and what they're going to choose to do while they're with you. Even the calls to our third party res centers, you can get a lot of information about that and how they behave when you serve them up offers, whether they've taken advantage of them or not. And, again, it just goes back to concepts, again, behavioral marketing, making sure you're serving up content to them that is relevant. In the independent space in particular, the way we take on that is we really leave it to kind of the specialized third parties. So our revenue leaders at the hotels really have their plates full. They're doing a million different things, trying to understand all the different segments, what's booking, what's not, interacting with the sales team. So for us in the independent space, we really want to find kind of the best in terms of the specialty from a third party, and really lean on them for understanding the data and making the recommendations for the behavioral marketing, being very targeted, and just making sure what's always important to us. And again, it goes back to my background of having the owner mentality, really understanding, the detailed plan and how it plays out in terms of it being accountable. So measurable goals, which is really difficult sometimes in the digital marketing space and online space, to really do the best we can to draw that direct line, if possible. If your goal is direct bookings, how to draw that line directly to say, okay, I did this in the digital marketing space and it actually resulted in that. Or if it's more of an awareness campaign, again, what are the measurables? It's just visitors to your website, and that's okay too. You just have to set the parameters of what your goals are and how you want to manage them. And, I'll just end on, again, going back to understanding guest behavior and what they want. I was listening to some webinars earlier this week, and just making sure we're all well aware of why people are traveling today and what they're looking for. And I heard a lot about wellness and relaxation. I heard a lot about solo travelers, which, I hadn't really been focused on before, but even today, people are so keen on travel that they're not going to wait around for their, 10 family members to get it together, or their 3 girlfriends. And people are traveling to a certain extent by themselves today, which is interesting. And inbound international travelers, or travel continues to be a little bit muted and slow. So maybe don't focus on that. And domestic leisure is the top driver still today, although we're seeing some movement in others. And, one last thing, I think we continue to a certain degree, depending on your location and your offering, compete with the short-term rentals. So continue to blast out why hotels are different. Like everything we have to offer, that those guys don't.
Okay. I think it's great to hear you all share your thoughts, and clearly there's, based on what everyone is sharing, there's a lot of opportunity out there. Storytelling channels, TikTok, measurable goals. And so, yes, that was great. Let me next question. How can technology enhance the experience economy, which is tied into kind of what we were discussing on that came up in our first question. Jen, I'm going to come back to you.
All right, happily. So the experience economy is a real thing. I think we can all agree on that. It was a concept that existed before COVID, but I think has certainly grown with the onset of COVID and its aftermath. We hear a lot about people tending to be more focused on memories and experiences rather than things. I'm still, I think, firmly in both camps. I like things, but I also like experiences still. But there's a lot of people that are more focused on spending their money on experiences, which we're all on this call very happy about since we're in the experience industry. It seems to be its own category now, with the hotel as a key part of it. So we, in the independent space, are certainly focused on offering unique and memorable experiences to guests. Frankly, this has always been the origin story of independent and lifestyle hotels. And thankfully, this demand continues to grow for us. In terms of technology, definitely yes. I think technology can enhance the experience economy. Some of the use cases for implementing technology related to experience can include, a communication tool. So, we all want to try to own our guests and make sure they come back or, stay at other hotels within our portfolio. So engaging with them pre and post stay, pushing out information to them just on an informative basis, but, to help them understand about the location they're staying in, the hotel amenities, possible excursions, special offers. And then speaking of special offers, once they're on site, you can use technology to push out these special offers, inform them about what's going on, kind of make things seem kind of like last minute and special. And maybe they haven't experienced some of these things while they've been on property with you or not. You can do that through CRM, other platforms. Some hotels have their own apps, which, are fantastic and people are interested in utilizing them. We've been looking into a lot, most lately, these platforms that exist, to varying success levels, where they can offer up, different activities and excursions, both on-site and off-site. So you can try to make that booking, really the whole booking, the whole package, the whole hotel experience, plus everything else you can do. You hear the buzz statements kind of like live like a local, but it's really integral, I think, to the hotel experience to offer a whole lot of other things that a hotel guest may or may not want to take advantage of. But even if they don't, they kind of like that those things exist and are there. And finding the right platform that integrates the way you want it to, not only with what you have to offer on site, but all of these third parties. So it's as seamless as possible to the guest. I think that's very interesting. We're trying to figure that out now, what the right players are in the space and how we can, again, these technologies have to work. So you want to make sure if you're going to offer it up that it works and it does seem seamless. A couple other things, I think the booking, process to some degree can always has some opportunities there. We've found what we call kind of an overlay in our booking for one of our booking engines that really makes it more aesthetically pleasing. You can have these amazing images on it. You can have video, all the different floor plans and kind of different VR, like, virtual reality, everything like right on this overlay. That's part of the booking process that is a real differentiator and makes the booking process, kind of more fun and a discovery process rather than just this like boring, click, 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 click through. So we're really interested in that and have been kind of championing that to some of our independents. And then I know everyone is already well versed in this, but even just mobile check-in and mobile key, offering it, I think is great. Again, it's all about choice. I mean, you're going to have, depending on your property type, people who, live in their phone and that's how they want to experience things. And that's perfectly fine to them. And they're going to want mobile check-in, they're going to want mobile key, and you want to bypass all this stuff. They like it that it's all there, but they want to live in their phone, but others don't. So it's like, it doesn't hurt to just offer choice. And then I'm sorry, one more other thing that came up in some discussions we've had this week. I mean, reviews continue to be so incredibly important. And guests are always looking at your reviews before they book you. So there's, obviously these platforms where you can pull reviews right onto your site. You can have guests leave reviews on your site, but if you want to pull them from the third parties and put them right on your site too, sure, go ahead. And then it's just so critically important to be monitoring reviews on all these sites and make sure you're responding quickly, because that makes a difference when people are looking at your reviews, But even more importantly, try to use these platforms where you can check in with your guests during their stay. So if there is something negative happening, you can head that off before they just get mad and leave and put it on the third party site, which, is going to live there forever. So that's kind of what's kind of in my mind that we've been thinking about and working on technology wise most lately.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. Okay. How can technology enhance the experience economy? Jamie?
Yeah, no, Jen made so many great points, and we have been thinking about experiences probably for the last, 15 years and different ways that they can take shape, right? And we're all thinking about, I think, especially in the luxury space, how do experiences, almost lead to transformation, right? We know that experiences are social currency and collecting these stories and contribute to sort of a better, sense of self and also fit in with this kind of holistic, wellness space. But I think, it's really interesting as we think about, kind of probably all generations, right? But really this next gen, they're constantly customizing their sort of digital world. They're curating the content they want to see. They're curating the content that they want to make. And it's important that we test and learn and try from a content perspective to deliver the right messages on the right platform. And for us, we've seen actually a really big opportunity kind of post-COVID in terms of thinking about what inspires is delivering editorial content kind of across our entire marketing funnel. In fact, taking editorial content and driving it into, as Jen was talking about, like the hotel experience is of course amazing and what we can do on property, but what we can also facilitate within the destination. And taking that editorial content, pulling that through, whether it's email, whether it's social, to really then deliver rich and inspiration that we know they're spending time with that does lead to bookings. I think that's been the biggest kind of almost, oh wow, right? This editorial piece is completely driving conversion. And then mobile key, to Jen's point, is certainly not new. I think it is really important to obviously let our guests sort of have a completely seamless experience from their, the minute they get off the plane to when they walk into the hotel, that they're in their room quickly, right? We know that travel has a lot of pain points, right? And alleviating some of those, in the right way, again, customizing that is certainly critical. And I think for us, when we think about, the Ritz-Carlton, it does then allow our ladies and gentlemen to say, okay, well, what is that moment of engagement? What's the warm welcome? What am I doing now to help personalize their stay? How can I be more focused on, the amenity or what I'm curating that, goes in room, for instance. And we know that, by using technology to help engage, enable engagement, drives guest satisfaction, hopefully then drives, some of those reviews, but ultimately, those GSS scores, drive share of wallet, endear, guests of all ages to the brand, and, keep them sort of within our entire sort of marketing, life cycle. And then the importance of course, post departure messaging as well.
Okay, great. Bridget, I want to hear from you.
Yeah, all great points. So let me see if I can, because those are all the stuff I wanted to say. So let's see if I can stab at it from a different angle. So agree to all of that, the personalization, the curation, the given the choice, the ability to allow us as marketers and business people to act quicker, right? To respond quickly, to adapt, to learn, all that. So taking another look at how technology affects and positively influence experience. We live in a both physical and virtual world. So, being in the hospitality industry for 20 years, I think when I first started, we only think about the physical world, right? As marketers, we only talk about the experience that the guest is going to have when they get to the hotel, or the experience they're going to have when they speak to our meeting planners or travel agents. So we got to make sure that they give the same experience. So it's very physical. And now for the last 15 plus years, we have to talk about technology, because half of our life, including mine, lives on the internet. And so technology definitely plays in the role when we get to the hotel. So everything that Jen and Jamie says, we need more of that, because more and more we're going to be living in our own little world, even though we're at a beautiful resort and any one of our properties. So I think it affects it because it has changed. It has totally changed the landscape of what hotel experience is all about. It allows us, on the personalization front, it allows the guest to almost give them a sense of control back of their experience. I remember, when we didn't have the internet and the technology and the app and all that, you basically, when you go to the hotels, you rely on them to give you, the curated, whatever they have on their menu, whatever they recommend, that's what you did. And unless you have a travel agent, then you would call the travel and, hey, are they right? Are they good for me? But nowadays we do a lot of that ourselves. It doesn't matter what social economic class or what kind of hotels. We go on the internet, we ask our friends, we post back, and then we bring it to the front desk and say, this is what I want. So it gives us that sense of control of our own experience. And as business people, we have to realize that is a very powerful feeling for the guests, and technology will allow us to tap into that. How can we give more of that feeling or more of that sense of control of someone's experience? Because their experience is their experience. It's no longer our imposed experience on them. So we have to use technology to emulate, to understand what is it that they want, when they want it, how they want it, without them physically coming up to us at the desk or picking up the phone and telling us. So I think it's been a complete disruptor to the hospitality industry.
Okay, I was muted because the helicopter was flying by. Okay, thank you, Bridget. Let's move on to the next question, which is, what are the guest journey marketing white spaces? And Jamie, let's start with you.
Okay, so thinking about, some of the opportunities, and Jen touched upon it a little bit, right? It really still, I think, lives with, pre-arrival communication and being able to, it's not a one and done, but sort of those small moments of inspiration that we continue and concede with our guests, right? Whether it is, through pre-arrival phone call, but more importantly, I think what we're delivering digitally, getting them excited about what's ahead, right? There's a lot of anticipation. And I love the idea that, guests are not waiting for their friends to pack their bags and come with them. I think, Jen, you or Bridget talked about that, that they're ready to go, but they still want to know like what lies ahead. They're kind of booking more last minute, right? I think we've seen this trend for a long time, but it's even more prevalent now. And what are the thoughtful ways that we're showing them the potential while at the same time, driving revenue for our hotels through different ancillary offerings, amenities that we can provide. But I think probably the real opportunity is in departure. What are we doing after an amazing week or weekend to help really kind of put a bow on that experience and provide inspiration for where they're going to go next? For instance, do we know they had an amazing dinner at XYZ restaurant, and are we, giving them the recipe? Are we sending, sort of a personalized note from somebody on property that really really made an impact on their stay? But then, Bridget talked about bridging the digital and the physical. And I think that is a really big opportunity. I just heard, a really, lovely story. And I know we all do this as luxury hotels, where one of our city hotels made a special cookie for a couple. They weren't able to enjoy them. They let our resort in Arizona know that, hey, they're coming. And then the recipe was sent, a note was sent, but then those cookies were waiting in room. So I think departure is really, to me, where I would love for us to spend more time with our hotels and as a brand. And then I talked a little bit about editorial, but, when we think about the journey and we're just thinking about the type of content that we're creating, I think one conversation we often have with our hotels, and we think about it from a global lens, when you're working with content creators, right? When you have influencers at your hotel, don't just look for the influencers that are in the travel space that are going, to 20 different brands. Look for those that reach really niche markets that might have a really different perspective that will help you present your hotel in a different way. So you then have a robust sort of library of content that you can start to seed across, whether we think about behavioral marketing, the different platforms that you're on, but you're just able to tell different stories and reach different audiences through those that you're thoughtfully allowing to sort of interpret your brand. So, but, again, it comes back to really, I think the real opportunity is still in that pre-arrival and departure. I don't know that that's completely, nailed, if you will.
That was interesting. The departure is interesting. I like that. Bridget.
Well, since Jamie talked about the before and after, I'll attack the middle part, because I really feel that real opportunity is to be constantly be in communication and engagement with the guests, right? We have the apps, we have technology platforms that are, mobile websites like a NexGenGuest, right? But I think we have websites. We have a lot that are available to our guests to use and to communicate, but a lot of times it's very reactive. We wait for the guests to use that app, to use that mobile site, to use that tool that we have. And I think the real opportunity is, how can we be more proactive? in the physical world, go back to that, you have the person standing there, and when we see someone's lost, we just, as a hotelier, we just come up to that person and say, hey, can I help you? Are you looking for something? But as an app, you don't know when to ask that person for help, right? And so I think there's real opportunity. A lot of our platforms, communication platforms and engagement platforms, we're not designed to be proactive, where we're tapped into every minute of the day while that person is there. I think going beyond push marketing efforts, which I think some of the brands do well, but when people are on vacation, they don't really want to always see the push marketing. They want real value communication, like you actually, like a person is standing there with them. So I think that's where the opportunity is. It's really using the tools, the guest tools that we have today at the hotel, and make it more proactive, make it more guest friendly. So we should be reaching out to them and making suggestions, giving news clips or whatever about the hotel or about the events when they're not asking for it. Because that's what we would do as a human being, as a person, as a desk person, as a concierge.
So, yeah, I think that actually plays back into getting more of the utilizing more of that unique guest data to, obviously, a person can't reach individually a nuanced text message to 300 people, but I think that technology should be able to figure that out for us, at least 80%. Okay, Jen, let's hear from you.
Okay. Awesome answers, Jamie and Bridget, as usual. A couple other things I was thinking about, and again, I think it's primarily because of the space I'm in with the independents. And again, realistically, we use a larger percentage of third-party bookings than the bigger brands do. I just keep going back to, all of us, our hotels, our hotel rooms are not a commodity. And the OTAs have kind of made them into commodities, the way they market, the way, the sort order, and just monetizing everything that lives on their websites just so you can get any visibility at all. And it tends to take away our power to really show our unique attributes. But they are maybe a necessary evil for us in the independent space. So it's always that thought of how can we make sure we're out front of marketing, in every part of the guest journey, how our hotel rooms aren't a commodity. They're only, first of all, they're, special and fantastic. And there's, so many different aspects of the hotel rooms themselves, but also, all the different amenities at a property. Always leading with that, making sure that's out front, rather than, again, being viewed as a commodity. But, the other thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is, and it's not a new idea, but just how good retail is at all of this. So they will grab hold of you and never let go. Like, even if you look at a website, I'm getting emails about, what do I want? Why did I leave? And there's kind of one hotel company that does that pretty well. I've gone, just for research, I've gone on and kind of looked at rooms or looked for a room, searched for a room, but not booked. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, how'd they get my information? They're emailing me about why I left. But they're very few and far between versus retail. Again, it's like the first thing that ever pops up if I'm looking for something on a retail site. They're like, give me your email, and I'll give you a discount. Give me your cell phone and I'll give you a discount. And then until you block them or get rid of them, in your text, they have you forever, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's definitely different than how we conduct ourselves in the hotel space and have for so long. Retail is always kind of a leader out there with the marketing and really trying to, you know, own you and keep a hold of you and make sure you continue to buy, versus the hotels. We, you know, and again, it's because a lot of the systems and technologies are fragmented and integrations are so important. So there's reasons for it, but it seems like we could figure it out, you know, at some point so that we can again continue to make sure we have a robust guest database and we're communicating with them.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I've experienced that with.
I mean, I opt in because I want the discount, but once I bought something,
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to keep buying the same thing every day of every year. So
Sometimes that is
Give me a
nice,
break.
because then you can just go back and it knows who you are and you don't have to click as many times.
absolutely.
Okay, so this comes to the last question for the webinar, which is, how can journey marketing create more revenue? Oh, sorry. And Jen, how about you? Let's start with
Go back to me. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I still believe there's a lot of opportunity here. You know, there's some kind of simple, straightforward things that hotels have been doing to varying degrees of success already. You know, it's the, you know, offering the upgraded room, or, you know, a price related to an early check-in or a late checkout. And, you know, there's debates on both sides of that, you know, depending on the type of hotel you are, you know, kind of your management style, whether you want to really charge for those kind of things, especially, you know, the late or the early check-in and the late checkout. So those are kind of always been in the discussion, have been there for a while, but I think there's still a lot more opportunity related to getting things pre-booked with guests before they show up, and it's everything related to, you know, all your F&B outlets. Again, making sure your future guests are informed about them. If there is the ability to, you know, make reservations ahead of time, you know, those are all positive things for the hotel, especially also related to spas, you know, anything related to the other activities on site, you know, beach, pool, water sports, all that kind of stuff. Getting the word out early and trying to get those things pre-booked, I think is always obviously good for the hotel. And then, you know, in my team, we're thinking about examples of kind of other industries, and part of it comes from just recently been going to all these theme parks in San Diego with my little kids, and it's like they keep adding things, you know, new roller coasters or, you know, new sections of the park that didn't exist before. And when you look at that and kind of the breadth of the offerings at each of these individual theme parks, it's like, well, gosh, can I even get to everything in one day? You know, and we ended up buying, you know, especially the zoo and, you know, the zoo that's, you know, up in La Jolla or whatever it is. It's just like, all of a sudden I'm buying multi-day passes or, you know, separate tickets on separate days for the same thing, just to make sure we can get through it all. And I wonder if that applies or can somehow apply to hotels. Again, it goes back to maybe the hotel should be the center, but if we can create an entire agenda or schedule or itinerary for our guests that is like amazing, and also plan it all in a seamless way, will they stay longer? You know, that's the real win. It's like another room night is fantastic. But also just like take advantage of all these things and then, you know, remember us for the next time. So, you know, we were talking and it was like putting the whole puzzle together, or the whole itinerary together is kind of an interesting concept for those who want it. And I mean, just one other quick comment. It's like, you know, you don't want to necessarily inundate people because, you know, they feel one way or another about it generally. But I think there's certainly guests who just hurry through the booking. They're like, I got to be here on this date and this is what I want to do. Or I have like 5 minutes before I put the kids to bed. Let me get this booked. And then I'm going to focus on the other stuff later. So again, this idea of getting the marketing in front of them on the front end and even during, you know, chances are you're going to have some guests that are impulsive and are going to like say, sure, let's just do this. You know, and some guests who are like, oh, I meant to get to that. So this is amazing. Just let me do this. And then I don't have to think about finding it on my own at a later date. So I think there's still a lot of opportunity in this space.
Okay, great. Jamie, how about you?
Yeah, no, I loved what you said, Jen. And I recently was at some theme parks myself, and they do a good job of kind of grabbing you, right? Maybe I'll think about it a little bit differently as we're trying to push people into kind of that, get them to the booking funnel. We often, right, my job as brand is it's broad inspiration, it's awareness, and it's consideration, but it also working with our hotels to say, how can you play in that space? How do you put more eyeballs on the content you're creating? What are ways you can, sort of partner with, other like-minded Ritz-Carlton properties that are in one area? I know that seems pretty obvious, but I don't think that some of our hotels think about the complete funnel, right? That they're very focused on kind of the lower funnel tactics, but thinking about, that being sort of one piece, that broad inspiration to drive them, again, much closer to booking, which I think the three of us know, and you as well, Steve, it's not a linear path for the luxury consumer. They're engaging with an email, they're on social, they're looking at, this international destination, this domestic destination, and then serving up content, not necessarily following them, but complementary content that continues to inspire. Like, I think that's really what we do so well in the luxury space, is thinking about the different types of content that we can continue to sort of put in front of them. But also looking at other opportunities, like, from a partnership perspective, are there local partners that you're working with who can help reach a new audience and kind of drive interest, even if it is, as we look at ancillary spend, is it just, sort of getting that first toe in through a spa experience or F&B, but really looking at your complete customer mix and understanding those different motivations and, sort of journeys, if you will. I think the other thing too is just show them value, right? No one wants to be nickel and dimed, but the value they're getting if they book, this premium suite, or they book this experience, or they pay a little more for an add-on in the spa, but really to ensure that there's value there. I think that is really inherent with what we think about. And then, I talked about editorial, but serving up the right type of content that says, okay, you're planning, you've just booked, here's what you could do here for 2 days. Here's what you could do for 7 days to like tap into ancillary spend as well. And I mean, quite honestly, just make it really easy to book and to compare options. So there's inherent, I think, revenue opportunities in that alone. Some thoughts for me. I mean, I love everything.
Thank you,
said, Jen.
No, that was great. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up with you, Bridget. How can Journey Marketing create more revenue?
Yeah, so I mean, much of what I do for the last 20 years have been in data and in journey mapping, guest journey mapping. So journey marketing is actually, in my opinion, is the most important aspect of revenue, because if we understand the motive, the wants, the needs, the desires throughout the entire journey, and that starts even before the person come to our hotel, or even before that person come onto our website. If we understand from that point, from the inspirational point, all the way to the retention, where they've come, they stay, they're happy, they're going back, now they're reliving the memory. If we can map the digital DNA of the entire journey, you will understand every motivation, every wants, every desire of every minute of every day of that person's life. And with that, I sound like capitalist now. You will be a great marketer. That is how you drive revenue. And that's why, to Jen and Jamie's point, that's why the retailers are so good, right? Like Amazon, they know everything about us. They even know what movies we watch and when, and if we've seen season 2 yet or not, you know, and then they give us these ads. And that's what I think in the end drives revenue. If we truly understand everything about that person throughout the entire journey, we will drive more revenue than we ever been before. And we're not there yet. As an industry, we're not there yet. You know, Amazon has a lot of information about us, but I don't even think they are there yet where they can map every piece of my digital DNA and footprint. But when we are, I foresee that is revenue optimization in the future.
Okay, Bridget, thank you. That was great. A lot of sort of forward, ahead of us information based on our topics today. So I would say share this with friends because information can change people's lives. And so go to the ILHA website if you want to view it, share it. And I want to thank everyone again for taking the time to join today, and stay safe. And thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.